stop. If you don't know how to master your commitments, you are going to live a life that is humdrum, boring, don't know where it went. How did I end up here? If you've ever heard yourself say any of those things to yourself or to someone else, I am telling you, you have not learned to master your commitments. And why are your commitments so freaking important? Because they are the main player of your life. They are the backbone of what your life is becoming and who you are being. So let's sit back for a second and really pay attention. In this podcast, we're going to go over a bunch of things that are going to help you genuinely pay attention to how am I handling my commitments? Because our brain is intended to protect us. So inevitably, what we put into it, we're programming it to either be for our greatest or for our worst. So I would intentionally say commitments are our way of really rising to our next level. So I'm going to go off with there are 5 highs of commitment and 5 lows of commitments. And let's dial it back for a second because honestly, our brain is always intentionally protecting us and is sending signals within our bodies for us to act and react. And the best way that we can become aware of it is to actually start with the high 5, because the first part of really understanding your commitments is to be self-aware. That's why I speak on mindfulness so much, is because the biggest part of it is awareness. Self-awareness of what are your genuine goals in this life. And I don't mean goals as I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to achieve that. It's what are you aiming at becoming and being, so that you can intentionally understand that what you're committing to on a daily basis is creating the venture that we're calling life. So self-awareness is one of the biggest key. And how do you become self-aware? It's in the words. You start to pay attention to what is it that I am saying yes to, and why am I saying yes to it, and what am I saying no to. And even the ones that you haven't put on a list of to-dos, these are the things that show up in your life that are the show and tell of what are you not saying yes to that you actually need to be saying yes to, and what are the things that you're saying no to. So if you find yourself in a lot of times not doing and not being the things that you desire to be, like if you were genuinely self-aware and are paying attention to what matters to you, you know those things. They don't come from the outside world, they come from within. What matters to you? So self-awareness is the first one. And my second one, and I love this one, I used to not like it at all, is accountability. Woo! Big word. Because it truly makes you aware, which goes back to the self-awareness, of the things that you might be avoiding. As soon as you start to be accountable for what you say yes to, and why are you saying yes to it, and how does it impact you and your life and everyone else that you're saying yes to or no to, when you become accountable, like genuinely tracking daily or weekly the things that you said yes to, and did you actually follow through with them? And accountability has all kinds of wonderful ways. You can be accountable with yourself. You can let others know what you're up to so that they can remind you of what you committed to. So accountability is the greatest thing that you can do for yourself, because that is the real telltale of, did I commit to the right thing? Did I say yes to the things that genuinely matter to who I am and what I am showing up as in my life? So accountability is a beautiful thing because it immediately, like, if it makes you cringe, that tells you exactly what you need to be working on. Where are the areas that you shy away from that you really need to pay attention to? So that one. Ooh, the next one, self-discipline. And that doesn't come so easy. Self-discipline comes from doing the things that sometimes we don't genuinely love doing, and it doesn't matter whether you love it, but it's important to why you're doing the things that you're doing, why you said yes to this commitment. Self-discipline is the act of being accountable again to yourself, to put something on your calendar, or to understand that life isn't happening to you. Life is happening for you. And the way that that's showing up is by what are you investing your time and energy into? And that all comes down to you. If you look back on your past year, on the past 5 years, you can easily tell the areas you've been self-disciplined in. If you're genuinely healthy, that means you've been disciplined in what you feed yourself, if you exercise, if you're aware of your mental diet, what you allow into your mind, what you allow into the words that come out of you. So if you are healthy, that shows you that you have been very self-disciplined in that arena. So it is one of the best things for you to notice is, where are my self-discipline? How well am I doing in the things that I apply myself to? So those are so far three like high fives. Out of the high fives, those are three. The next one is responsibility. And again, it's like the word accountability. It used to be a very bothersome thing to me till I understood that I genuinely am responsible for everything that is my life. No one else on the face of the planet is responsible for me except me. That includes my actions, that includes my words, that includes my self-awareness, my accountability. So responsibility is a very positive thing. Taking responsibility for how am I investing my time and energy, which basically leads to what am I committing myself to every day? And no one can decide that again except you. And the best part of all of this is the positive reinforcement. That's my fifth one for the high five, meaning you pay attention and you reward yourself for the things that you're doing right in your commitments to your life, to yourself. Because who you show up as is who this world gets to experience. Who the gift that you give to the world is all those things of the commitments that you're willing to make. So positive reinforcement is a lot of things that come from within you to reinforce your words, to reinforce your thoughts, to be grateful for the things that you have committed to and you have followed through on them. Positive reinforcement could come also in people recognizing what you're doing, but they're only recognizing because you did the right things, you committed, you were self-aware, you were accountable, you were responsible, you did the things that all of a sudden someone else is paying attention to. And I have wonderful individuals. I'm going to give you individuals that everyone would know. Oprah Winfrey. Her commitment to create a gratitude journal where she listed 5 items on it every day. That journey of her doing her gratitude journal made her so much aware of who she is and genuinely allowed her to work through some of the bad times that everyone goes through. Bad times. It made her so much stronger in those times to what are her commitments to herself? What are her commitments to her business? She wouldn't have become who she is if she didn't start with that simple thing of becoming more grateful and doing the commitment to do a gratitude journal that led her down a path of becoming who she is today. The mogul that a lot of people would look to and go, that's wonderful. Well, it started with steps. It started with all these commitments that she was aware of them. That gratitude journal. So if we're going to look at that, we have to look at the high 5, but we also have to look at what I call the low 5 of commitments where, woo, they're not the nicest things because we're committing either to the wrong thing, or if we're paying attention, we can see within our life we're not very content, we're not where we'd like to be. We look at someone else and go, well, look where they got. All those things, they just show you that you're in the low 5 of commitments. And that comes, the first one to me is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is looking to somebody else and what they're doing and going, well, look how great they're doing. Nobody becomes great without investing their time and energy, their right commitments for themselves to become that, to be that. So self-sabotage goes into, you put a commitment on there and you don't genuinely understand why you put that commitment on there. Or you might have said it because you are people pleasing. It is not the right thing for you. That's the things about self-sabotage, that all of a sudden your self-talk becomes detrimental. You say things to yourself that you wouldn't say to someone else. Your brain is listening. Your body is listening. So if you are self-sabotaging, that is one of the first pieces, the first one on the low of awareness that you are making commitments that may not be the right thing for you. And you need to become much more aware of, why am I making this commitment? Oh, and if you go from self-sabotage to procrastination, second one, let me tell you, that is not one of the pros I'm aiming at. And I hope you're not either. But if you do procrastinate, clue, pay attention to the commitments that you have obligated yourself to. That is one of the spots that I look at and go, why am I procrastinating on this? And again, I am not looking for you to be a pro or me a pro at any of the procrastination, but they are the show and tell of where are we not committing to the right thing. And the second one, the third one, lack of discipline. Yeah, big one, lack of discipline. It means that you do things whether you feel like it or you don't, because it matters to you. No one has become anything great without learning to be disciplined in doing the things that may not feel the greatest at the moment, but they know that it's leading them to their greatness, to the best version of themselves. So a lack of discipline is another key that you're not very committed to the things that you need to be committed to. Pay attention. You're going to hear me say pay attention so many times because you don't need to look around. You simply need to look at yourself and your day and your life and your week to go, what did I accomplish? Who did I become this week? What did I do this week? And it's not only in the doing, it's in the being. So the lack of discipline is you're not being the things that make you your greatest. And no one controls that except you. And this one is the fourth one. And if you've heard the phrase, you are the, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but you are basically the net of the 5 people that are around you. Yes, negative influences is my fourth one. If you're not holding to your commitments, look around to who are you listening to? Who are you hanging around with? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Those are negative influences in the sense that by paying attention, you actually do see that, hey, wait a minute. I need to walk away from this relationship. I need to walk away from this commitment that I think is crucial, but it's crucial in the wrong direction. My favorite phrase of all time is ships don't sink because of the water that's around them. They sink because of the water that gets into them. So the negative influences are not forcing you to do anything because you are a complete being that's capable of creating the life that you desire, but allowing those things to seep into you is what's creating the lack of commitment. And my fifth one on the law of commitment is, and this one is disguised, perfectionism. I cannot tell you how many individuals I speak to that have a desire to create something in their life, do something, and the more you speak to them, the more you understand that they're using perfectionism as a way of not genuinely committing. So perfectionism is the worst one in my world, is when perfectionism, I'm not going to do this till I get it perfect. No, we begin and we learn and we adjust and we reframe and we change things. That is the most wonderful things about commitment that are aligned with your values, with who you are and what matters to you. The genius and the incredible that is only you, by you aligning and letting go of perfectionism and beginning to learn and act and adjust, you start to become those things. And you start to see that your calendar, that your life starts to take on the real commitments. And I have a lot of people that ask me, what is the right time management tool, and what is the right calendar, and what, but there is no right one. It's the one that makes you aware of, why am I doing any of this? So my high five and my low five are the way that I look at anything that I am touching and putting my energy towards. Is it meeting the high fives? Is it making me better? Or am I in the low five? So I'm going to give you 5 things that over my years of all the things I've learned, that I now set as my guidelines of what I ask myself for a commitment. When I am committing to something, my number one that I ask myself is, why am I saying yes? Or why am I saying no to this? Like genuinely digging deep into the answer to those questions. And that gives me the real joy of going, this is how you begin to do great things in your life. This is how you begin to move yourself to your next level of greatness, your own greatness, not comparable to somebody else, but the greatest that you can be is those things. So I ask that question is, why am I saying yes, or why am I saying no to this? And then I ask, what does it genuinely mean to me? Why does it matter to me? And if I can answer that authentically, it's past the second test. And then the third question that I ask is, what do I believe I will become, or what will the results be because I said yes or no to this? To the best of my ability to foresee, to genuinely be able to answer, is that really what I'm going after? Is this what aligns with the greatest that I can offer myself and the world? And then I ask the fourth question is, what could go wrong? What are the things that are not going to come of this? Because I said yes, what am I saying no to? What, those are the things that on purpose I ask, so that I don't ever go to regret. I've already looked at it. I'm okay with the answers that come out of this. Is what will come of all of this if I answer those questions? And my favorite one, who does it impact? Who does this yes or no decision impact? And how valuable is that to me? Because at the end of the day, I'm looking to be a very kind human being. I am a kind human being. I'm looking to continue to be respectful of myself and the people that are around me. I'm looking to be grateful for the things and the life that I'm living. And I'm looking to be loving and responsible. So by looking at commitments, I get to go through the lens of, how am I creating my life? How are you creating your life? And it comes down to the little tasks that you agree to commit to. Jerry Seinfeld is one of my favorite comedians. Well, he didn't become Jerry Seinfeld overnight. He made a commitment to write a joke or to write something every day. And it became an X mark on his calendar, where it became like a chain. There are days that he wrote a few words, and there are days that he wrote pages. But that allowed that habit of committing to write, whether he felt like it or not, he committed to the greater thing that he was looking to be, to become Jerry Seinfeld. He committed to those, and he wrote that chain of X's that allowed him to become who he is. The other one that I actually look at is Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest fighters. He didn't become Muhammad Ali overnight either, but he was committed to his social justice causes. He was committed to being the person that he is. He even said no to the draft to go to Vietnam, which took away some of his titles, and he had to step out of the fighting ring, but he was committed to the person he knew he is and he's becoming. And that allowed him to become one of the greatest fighters. So you knowing who you are and what matters to you is the first and the most important thing about those commitments that you're making on a daily basis. For me, my journey has been a journey of becoming more self-aware, being more mindful, which also then led me to emotional intelligence of how to deal with things. I started the journey multiple decades ago when my life was in turmoil. I started with taking daily walks, committing to daily walks, and then adding on to this daily walk a gratitude ritual, like intentionally counting my gratitude as I am doing my walking. And that was the first building block of becoming much more aware, much more mindful of what are my values, what do I care about, and what am I putting out into the world? Because my commitments are my journey in this life. That's how I show up. That's how I tell by the commitments that I am doing and being. You get to see and hear this podcast. So everything is a stepping stone. So I'm going to encourage you to start a ritual of really paying attention. I'm going to put a link in the podcast to my mindfulness journal. It's not mine, it's yours. There are ways for you to begin to really understand yourself and the commitments you're willing to make and not make. And if you've liked this podcast, please join me in the next one, because we're going to continue diving into becoming the best versions of ourselves, because we deserve it. The world deserves a humanity that cares, a humanity that's kind, a humanity that is responsible for who we are being. See you in the next podcast.